And here I am. Ooh, there's a little bit of the copier behind me. Now, this screen for me is awesome. And when I go and look at the replays, it's terrible. So I am putting that on StreamYard at this point. How are you tonight? How has your day been? Today is Wednesday, April 23rd, 2022. I am John Schenk. I am your host tonight. Now, who am I? Well, I am a realtor. I'm a real estate agent in St. Louis, Missouri. I own my own brokerage, Deerwood Realty. And in the off time, I like to talk about employment issues. So we do. There's all kinds of weird stuff that goes on with employment. I don't like it. I mean, it's just weird. People put up with stuff in offices that they never put up with in their house. You can get fired for all kinds of weird reasons. Just somebody doesn't like you, you're gone. You have unions that could be maybe overbearing at times. I mean, there's just everything about employment is odd. I've said for a long time that the employment law we have was based on an economy that we no longer have and haven't had since the 1920s. I find working to be very exploitive in a way for many. But then there's always the few that have figured it out and make millions at their jobs. They haven't started anything. They haven't created anything. They just administer tasks, and they are rewarded for that. So I don't know. I figured I'd start a live stream, and I figured that there's people out there that have put up with a bunch of garbage all their life, and maybe they would like to tell somebody about it. And so I'm here. You should send me something. You should send me an email that says like, hey, here's what happened at my job. You know, am I the wrong one in this situation, or is it the company? And just we go over stuff. That's the plan. How has it been going so far? Well, not too well. I'm having a little trouble getting some viewers. To be honest with you, I'm having trouble getting subscribers. I do think there's a lot of people that want to talk about their jobs. I do. I just don't know that. I mean, if my impressions are only getting out to like 10 people, it's going to take a while before I can build a good enough audience to get what people think about their jobs. Now, these are my opinions. What I talk about on the show is my opinions on the stream. You may have different opinions. You should probably put those in the chat, because then we can hash it out. In theory, I mean, I'm just saying that's an option. That's kind of why we have a live stream. Now, we're doing it live. You could say, John, you're an idiot. I don't believe you. I think you're wrong. You could accuse me of all kinds of things. Maybe I'm a company man. Saying, John, you're a company man. And maybe I am. I don't know. I just know that employment is odd. I know that the idea that an employer can force you to do, have medical procedures, have all kinds of stuff, control over your life, just bizarre to me. It doesn't seem like we've got freedom. Freedom, you say, well, you're free to go to a different job. Well, yeah, but should you have to? And what does that say for the person that takes your job and puts up with the garbage that you left? I mean, I don't know. I thought it was interesting. So one of the things I've learned in my live stream education is you have to tell your viewers what it is you're going to talk about. So tonight, let me get my notes. Here's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about Twitter again. Talked about it last night, but I want to take it from a different angle. There has been talk that a lawyer at Twitter is being targeted for her work. And we'll just go through it and see if you think that's the case. I don't know. We're going to talk about it from a number of different angles. I think you want to stay till we talk about it, because I think it'll be fascinating. We're going to talk about perhaps Amazon Fresh, the first union member ever fired from Amazon Fresh. That's kind of interesting. There's a company called Renown, which is a health company in Las Vegas or Reno. The CEO there was fired. We'll talk about why and talk about how the story is kind of fascinating. It takes some twists and turns. We'll talk about employee burnout. Is it a thing? Is it real? I mean, to me, it's kind of obvious that it's real. When I work, and I work at least for the most part 7 days a week. I get burnt out at times, and I stop talking basically, and I'm not able to be creative. I'm not able to do anything, and so I think that's fascinating. I don't know. Maybe you don't. We'll find out. We'll talk about ways of getting fired, and kind of talking about, like, was it warranted? And then we have a story of employee abuse, I would say, from customers, and we'll see what happens, and maybe was that right? Employee wise today, I would like to go over a little something. I've been training an employee for my office, and it has been very, very refreshing. And what I mean by that is, I've never had an employee at Deerwood Realty, but I felt I needed to get one because of our expansion into the live streams and things of that nature. And what it's done for me is, I'd like to take each component of the organization and make it so that someone else could do the job. And if they left, someone else could do the same job, and not so much have these barriers in the office place. Like, let's just be able to do each other's jobs, and then we don't have to worry about it. Now you say, well, John, your employee is not a licensed real estate agent, so they can't show property or anything like that. That's exactly right, and that's not what I'm asking for. As a real estate agent, you get busy at times. I know that's crazy, but like, I have between 5 and 7 buyers on my own right now, and they come and go, and weekends are usually all showings all week, so I have trouble producing content during those times. But I also have trouble with consistent advertising, consistent marketing across the board, because I'll get busy, and we never know when it's going to be. It could be the first week of the month, it could be the last week of the month. I may not get busy. It's just, you never know what's going to happen. And so I brought an employee on, and we've only been working together for the last 3 days. But what it's done for me is given me some insight into like an upper level view as to what am I really doing? Like, why are we doing this? Why are we doing that? Which is kind of, to me, it's kind of the way I live. I always like to know why I'm doing something. Why? And that's even the part of the live stream is our nature of employment is, why are we working? Why do we accept bad behavior in the office place? Why do we accept low self-esteem? Why do we allow ourselves to be sectioned off from other employees? I mean, what is this about? Why do we let people control us who pay us, pennies versus their earnings? So, it's pleasing to say, hey, here's this task. Okay. Here's why we're doing it. Okay. If you think you can do a better job, let me know. If you can be more efficient, if you can get more views, if you can, whatever you can do that can help, please let me know. Now, even when I say that, I can hear some of you out there saying, well, that's not their job. Their job is only to do this very narrow band of projects. And I just flat out disagree. Flat out disagree. I have no interest in, creating silos in the workforce, and I'm not going to do it. And if anything, maybe I can be a model for employment. I don't know. It's possible that's a pipe dream, but anyway, it's starting off well. And it's kind of renewed my faith in the job market, to be honest with you. So, that's what I have. I don't want to stretch out the conversation any longer. I want to get into it. The first story is it's a set of 3 articles related to the Elon Musk acquisition of Twitter. I'm fascinated by this whole thing because some people are saying that the acquisition is not a business acquisition. Some people are saying that it's a free speech issue. Now, I don't know. But I'm fascinated because Elon Musk is at the center of it, and that guy knows how to grab the headlines. Love him or hate him, I have a tremendous amount of respect. I'm telling you my bias now. I have a tremendous amount of respect for him because he is able to garner headlines most of the time for not doing anything too bad. Having a sense of humor to me is not a reason to hate someone. Although, like I said, I learned a while back that only maybe 30% of the people, the U.S. population, has any sense of humor, which is depressing. If we can't laugh at ourselves, who can we laugh at? But I'm going to go through this from the perspective of our channel and see if you can follow along with me, see if you have any interest in this topic. And so here we go. I do want to check, and I should have checked earlier. I just want to make sure. I know my camera's working. I know the microphone's working now. Let's get into it. I hit the wrong button. Excuse me. Okay. Here we go. We're going to go here. We're going to go here. Oh, and we're going to change this. Excuse me. There's a certain way. There we go. Do this. And then we do this. And then we do this. And this. Okay. So I'm going to double check the screen real quick. Can you see this? Yes. Okay, good. Let's talk about this. It says Twitter's top lawyer who angered conservatives, a label, with her past decisions about moderating content, cried when discussing the Elon Musk purchase with employees, report says. Now, this is out of Yahoo Finance. It looks like it's being pulled from Business Insider, though. Okay, so let's talk about just the headline. Number one, the top lawyer of Twitter. Okay, that's who that person is. Angered conservatives. Well, what do you mean by conservatives? Because we know that words now have many different meanings. What do you mean by a conservative? And then with her past decisions about moderating content, were those criticisms, or were they warranted? Cried when discussing the Elon Musk purchase with employees. Now, let me ask you, let's say you've put your heart and soul in an organization and it's been sold, and it's possible that you're on your way out. Okay. Would you be sad about that? Where would you voice your sadness? Where's the venue to voice your sadness? Is it at work? I don't know. I've never cried at work, but if something happened to one of my employees or one of their family members, or maybe even a client, I've had people get divorced. That's made me really sad. People die, really sad. But I mean, is crying at work okay? I don't know. Part of me internally feels like there's some sexism going on by the people that leaked this information, because they said this woman, she is a woman and she did cry, as if, that's a sign of weakness. I don't know. Maybe I'm reading too much into it, but let's continue. It says Elon Musk bought Twitter on Monday and could shift its approach to content moderation. Well, if he owns the platform, then he's allowed to do what he's want. I've been told that for years. That if you don't like something, you're free to not use it. And if you want a social media platform that doesn't stifle you, then you should just make your own. It says one key architect of those content policies is the attorney. I don't even know her name. I don't want to be rude, but we're going to hear it a bunch of times, or we're going to see it a bunch of times. So I'm going to go with Vijaya Gadde. I could be wrong, and I apologize ahead. On Monday, Gadde cried during a meeting that discussed the acquisition, 3 people told Politico. So my question at first is what is these people's agendas for running to the press to say that this woman has emotions? Like, is that a bad thing? Okay, let's continue. It says Twitter's top attorney and a key voice in decisions such as barring President Donald Trump from the platform became emotional and cried in a meeting with employees discussing Elon Musk's acquisition of the platform on Monday. Okay. Vijaya Gadde, Twitter's head of legal policy and trust, is said to have played a large role in the content moderation at Twitter. She also advised former CEO Jack Dorsey and helped negotiate the deal between Musk and Twitter. So if she did help negotiate the deal between Musk and Twitter, she must have some idea of what she's doing. Is anybody arguing that she's not qualified? I'm not arguing that. I'm just asking. On Monday, she met virtually with employees she supervises in legal and policy to discuss the buy. She acknowledged that there are significant uncertainties about what the company will look like under Musk's leadership, the outlet wrote, citing 3 people familiar with the meeting. Now, look, whatever you want to say, the company's bought out. The new owners decided to do something different, possibly. Any corporation, anywhere in the United States, any employee should always be nervous when you are bought out. And I think that's reasonable. The people told Politico that Gadde cried while relaying concerns about changes to Twitter. That's if that's what she wanted to do, I'm not going to kick someone for showing emotion. In fact, I am one of those people that says, hey, we're not showing enough emotion at work. We're not fighting to me, you're in business against many other competitors. You need to fight, kick, scream, do anything you can to win. This is the way I feel. And, if you put it all you're into it and it didn't work out and you start crying, if that's what you have to do. They also told the outlet that she said she was proud of the employees and they should continue to try to make a positive contribution to the company. Well, what's she going to say? Is she going to say, you people are all terrible and you're the reason why we got bought out? That's not the sign of a leader. The crying thing isn't a bad thing on a leader. That's showing some sort of empathy. But and this rallying around, the situation, also a sign of leadership. I don't have any problem with that. Now, continue. Former employees have said that they don't feel Musk's ethos matches the company's values, though Dorsey has embraced the buy. Former employees. So did they leave on good terms? Who are these employees and what do they talk about? That they don't feel Musk's ethos, so what he believes matches the company's values. Well, to me, if you own a company and you want to impose your values on that organization in an effort to change, to perhaps bring in more revenue, to do whatever, I don't really think that that's a bad thing. I don't think that your values in a company are going too well when your stock price hasn't moved for 5 years. Like something wasn't working there. Okay? Something wasn't going right. Now, I don't think it's okay for someone to buy an organization and then commit crimes. As long as he's following the law, I don't have a problem with him making changes. And maybe the company's values are wrong. Maybe that's why they got bought out. You don't see someone going and buying out Google. You don't see somebody going and buying out Apple. Okay, why was Twitter so weak relative to everyone else? It may have been bad management. It may have been bad company values. Any sense that an exodus is building is correct, a former Twitter employee told Insider on Tuesday. So is that a bad thing? Are these people not allowed to leave if their values don't align with the organization that they're a part of? I have a real problem with the idea that you work for a corporation and you don't share any of its values. Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. Why would you do that? You're only put on this earth once. It's like we talk about with people that work for the military industrial complex. Do those people, okay, they may feel that they're saving the planet. They may feel that they're saving the United States, but they're also making weapons that are highly lethal and kill. You're taking human life. We know that people don't just decide not to work for those places because they're always hiring. There's plenty of jobs there. The government puts plenty of money on the table. So, a very fascinating issue. Employees asked about everything from potential layoffs to the reactivation of Trump's Twitter account in an all-hands meeting on Monday, where CEO Parag Agrawal acknowledged that there wasn't a ton of certainty about the platform's future. Nor should this fellow think that way. Like, he might be on notice. Like, you guys might be in trouble if you're the CEO of Twitter and you just got bought out. Musk has remained bullish on free speech, tweeting on Monday that the platform shouldn't moderate anything that isn't against the law. See, to me, I agree with that. I really do. Like, it's pretty simple to me. Like, where do you draw the line? Well, is sex trafficking okay on Twitter? No, it's not. It's not against the law. Let's not do that. I don't have a problem with that. It became a game, and it's a game really on YouTube and everywhere else. I know there's certain words, for the most part, that I can say that will get me thrown off Twitter. I know there are certain words that I can say that will get me thrown off YouTube or shadow banned. I don't think that's right, okay, because it's not against the law. But if I say the words, the terms of service, if they apply them the way they want to and haphazardly, which they have, they just boot you. I don't think that's right. I am I have warmed up to the idea that Twitter is a public square. Facebook is a public square. These companies should have some way of allowing speech to occur, even if they don't agree with it. And that's not been the case in the last couple of years. By the way, to me, like, I'm just, I have a platform here. If I keep talking like this, I don't know how long I'm going to have a platform. But for me, let's say you have Twitter, okay, and you have someone that has 50 million followers, okay? And because that person says something that you don't agree with, you throw them off the platform. Okay. Well, all those fans watched you, or those subscribers or followers watched you throw someone that they care about right off the platform. Some of them may deactivate their accounts. Some of them might not use the platform as often. Some may follow the person you kicked off to a different platform. But to me, that's bad for business, the whole thing. You should never kick off high following accounts on any platform. Now, there was a fascinating discussion today about Twitter, in that there's the argument that Twitter as a company should ban people, should censor people, should revolve around those kinds of things. And then there's other people that say, like, for instance, for harassment, they say there's a block button on Twitter. There's a mute button on Twitter. Just boot the person on your own. You don't need corporations. You don't need a corporation to come in and throw the person off the platform. Just mute them. Just block them. That seems to make sense to me, that argument. Musk has remained bullish on free speech, tweeting on Tuesday that the platform shouldn't moderate anything that's against the law. If I read that before, I'm sorry. Twitter's policies extend far beyond that, penalizing certain content that spreads coronavirus-related misinformation or information, depending on what they have learned during the whole process, as well as various types of hate speech. Yeah, the hate speech definition on Twitter is a little bit bizarre. Some of the things that they call hate speech are not what you would call hate speech normally. The free speech concern is often cited by conservatives who have celebrated Musk's buy and have long felt that Twitter discriminates against right-wing views, especially after it deplatformed Trump. I don't think Trump is right-wing. He voted Democrat for a long time. He donated to Chuck Schumer's Senate candidacy. I don't believe that he's right-wing. I believe that he plays the audience. Wherever he thinks he can get votes, he'll play it. And I'm not trying to be defending Trump, but I'm just saying I don't think. I mean, if you want right-wing views, he's not the furthest right you can go. Now, does Twitter discriminate against right-wing views? I think they discriminate against many different views wrongly. Whereas we're protected by free speech. Someone will argue it's a private company. They can do what they want. And then the argument is, okay, fine. Then that's why Musk bought it. And then they say, no, you can't do that. That wasn't fair. So we're going to Tumblr. So this is a fascinating issue in our culture, in our times. It says Gadde was a driver behind that decision, CNN Business reported in 2020, as did others at the time it occurred. Let's be honest. Trump was impeached twice in office. Much of the stuff that you see on Trump has been refuted. I'm not saying Trump is innocent of all charges, but I mean, if they threw half of the mud they threw at Trump that they threw at Biden, I mean, it's really fascinating to watch. So the attorney's job involves deciding when content can be taken down, and she's referred to as Twitter's moral authority. Well, that's never good. And here's the thing. I mean, you can tweet some pretty terrible things, and if your account's only got 4 people watching or 4 people following, it doesn't really matter. They really only, and plus, I mean, if you think with like 4 followers, if you think that Twitter won't just get rid of you with AI, I mean, you're really a bit naive. Vijaya is at the crossroads of some of the most important policy decisions the company is making and how it interacts with governments around the world. Adam Bain, Twitter's former COO, who worked with Gadde before he left in 2016, told CNN Business. Now, that was 7 years ago? Also, how Twitter interacts with governments around the world is fascinating. Have you ever gotten the tweet that says you violated German law? It's like, what? We're in the United States. Why are we dealing with German law? Very fascinating. Gadde also posed the idea to Dorsey of banning political advertising on Twitter altogether, which happened in 2019. Politico magazine report. Now, I don't understand why you would ban political advertising. I think that you take the money and you go for it. I mean, you are a business. The outlet Politico profiled her at length in 2020, discussing how she became a lightning rod for conservative criticism. I think that criticism is warranted whether or not you're conservative or a liberal, and discussed her childhood as an immigrant from India in Beaumont, Texas. There, her father was once advised to seek the permission of the local Ku Klux Klan to sell insurance door to door. Experiences like this and others helped her become a lawyer. After her meeting on Monday, Gadde appeared to have cheered up employees, some of whom tweeted about her afterward. If you look up the word inspiring in the dictionary, you find a picture of Vijaya. Kennedy O'Brien, a public policy associate at Twitter, tweeted. Twitter did not respond immediately to a request for comment, and you can read the original article on Business Insider. Okay, so the top lawyer cried. She was sad. I mean, that's the story. So let's go, and we'll go further. Now, this is what I thought was fascinating. Now it gets interesting. This is on Quartz. Under the guidance of free speech, it says an Indian-born female Twitter executive received a barrage of abuse following a Musk tweet. So it's Musk against this Indian-born female. Now, Musk was born in South Africa. He is an African American, but I don't know that we use that anymore, that term. So I have no idea. Anyway, why do I, no offense, but why do I care if she's an Indian-born female? Like, what does that have to do with her being the top lawyer, the top legal counsel at a massive corporation? I don't think it means anything. So let's continue. It says Vijaya Gadde, Twitter's top lawyer, faced abusive comments on the platform after prospective owner Elon Musk responded to a right-wing activist about a censorship issue. Now, this is another thing that I wanted to get into. Okay. Because it applies to all organizations. Okay. Elon Musk is not even the CEO. He's not even the owner of Twitter yet. The deal has not gone through. Okay. Now, technicality maybe. But this woman was on Joe Rogan, which is probably one of the largest shows in the United States. Okay, the largest podcast. So she is a public figure because she was on Rogan. Okay, that's all there is to it. Okay, if you don't want to be a public figure, don't become the top attorney for a large mega corporation, and don't go on Joe Rogan. That seems obvious to me. Now, it faced abusive comments. I don't know what the comments were. Okay. And I don't like this idea that you tie the owner of the company making a tweet with the rest of these people in the organization suffering. I mean, to me, any tweet that you make is yours. You have to own it. And then you say, well, what if you had a bad day or something like that? That's fine. Everyone says stupid things. Everyone says stupid things. No one is above stupidity. So here we go. Suspending the Twitter account of a major news organization for publishing a truthful story. A truthful story was obviously incredibly inappropriate. Musk told YouTuber. Okay, so if you don't know, he's a YouTuber, Sagar Enjeti, if I did that right, but who knows. He was responding to Enjeti's post about a political story in which Twitter's top censorship advocate, Gadde, originally cried during a meeting to discuss Musk's acquisition. She was responsible for censoring a New York Post story on the contents of Hunter Biden's laptop, the veracity of which was later verified. Okay. There's a lot of layers here. Let's start with Musk responding to the YouTuber. Suspending the Twitter account of a major news organization for publishing a truthful story was obviously incredibly inappropriate. Now, Musk did not bring up this woman, Indian top lawyer. Her name was not mentioned. Who knows in the organization, in Twitter, who made the call, okay, to censor a New York Post story? Who knows who made that call? I don't know that you can tie this woman to this event. If you weren't there, how do you know? Have there been reports that say she was? I don't know. Okay. Now, to me, if this was a man, okay, if you want to bring sexism into it, if it was a man, would they get the same treatment for making a major error? Would they be tied to that error? Because that's what's going on here. She's being tied to an error with no bait. We don't know if she did it. We think maybe her job is supposed to be this, but we don't really know. After Musk's remark, other Twitter users started trolling the Indian-born policy chief who grew up in Beaumont, Texas. They flooded her mentions with sexist and racist vitriol. CEO Parag Agrawal, himself of Indian origin, also was also enveloped in some of the attacks. So let me just try and figure this out. No one in their right mind thinks that it's okay to, be sexist and racist towards someone. I mean, I don't think that, but the weird thing here is the way this is written, and I don't want to split hairs, but it says the Twitter users starting trolling the Indian-born policy chief. That being said, if she was an American-born policy chief, what are you saying? Would they say that she wouldn't have had sexist and racist vitriol? And then you go CEO Parag Agrawal, himself of Indian origin, was also enveloped in some of the attacks. It seems like people have attacked the leadership of Twitter. People have attacked other people in Twitter. That's the way it looks to me. It says Twitter employees are in Musk's crosshairs. That's your headline. That's the court's headline here. It says Musk not only slotted Gadde, I don't know how you get that, but also accused company lawyer Jim Baker of facilitating fraud, again in a response to an alt-right activist. How many alt-left activists are there on Twitter right now? I don't like these labels. This is not good. Although Musk's own politics are not clearly labeled as left or right wing and are sometimes inconsistent, some of his recent interactions on Twitter, which he wants to turn into a platform with greater free speech as he sees it, have seen him engage with conspiracy theorists and promotion of misogynistic humor. Well, we're not even going to get into that. 60% of the United States doesn't understand, doesn't have a sense of humor. And so, I don't have any interest in it's already a problem in the United States. And they use a tweet from Aaron Rupart, who is the worst journalist, quote unquote, there's ever been that I know. So I'm not going to waste my time with that. So that was a weird article. What was the point of it? What was the point of the article? I don't know. After reading through it, let me just check my stream just in case anybody's watching. No one's watching, of course. What are we to make of this article? I mean, I just don't get it. Like, it doesn't matter if it's an Indian-born female. It doesn't matter anything. It's that she's an executive at a organization. Like, the head of the organization will get attacked when they do things that are not good with the company, basically not good with the rest of the people, when they subjectively enforce rules amongst the users. So that being said, now I wanted to go in a different direction. One of the arguments I heard today, which was fascinating to me, is because she makes millions of dollars a year, she should be able to handle a little bit of criticism. Do you believe that? I don't know, but I wanted to go over this because I did think it was fascinating. Before Musk's stock buy, Twitter's top lawyer pay jumped 130%. Vijaya Gadde's total compensation was nearly $17 million. Twitter Incorporated, which has a new CEO and new largest shareholder in Elon Musk, saw legal chief Vijaya Gadde receive roughly 130% pay raise in 2021. Gadde's total compensation was more than $16.9 million last year. The San Francisco-based company disclosed in a preliminary annual proxy statement filed April 1st. That's up from roughly $7.3 million that she earned in 2020. So to me, it looks like it pays very, very well to be the top censorship czar at Twitter. And that's all you can take from this. And then my question is the compensation you make okay for you to get maybe screamed at online or harassed? And let me change the venue. Let's say a professional baseball player threw a pitch in the World Series, and the opposing player hit the ball out of the ballpark, a home run, and now the pitcher who makes $25 million a year is being booed. Perhaps someone on Twitter has said some mean things about him. Is that okay because he makes $25 million? It's very interesting to me. I've never believed that you have license to pile on someone in their worst moment. I think you treat people with respect at all times, even when they don't treat you with respect. So to me, the fact that she earns a stupid amount of money compared to a normal human being doesn't really factor in to this. So I don't think people should say mean things to anyone, online or not, but they do. I probably have said something mean to someone in a live stream or something, but I don't think that the compensation one makes gives anyone else license to treat them in a way that is less than pleasant. I mean, they may be a terrible person. That Aaron Rupar, he's a terrible person. I don't have any doubt about that. I mean, and I don't know what he makes, but I mean, I don't know. I really like this piling on and stuff and everything. Now, can she block and mute all these people? Yes, but they probably just start new accounts and go after her again. I mean, there's a real problem with harassment online. Like, let's be honest. Okay. But the amount of money you make does not does not earn you people hurling abuse your way. This is also true in my life, in my thinking. I mean, a janitor, like, we don't treat janitors badly. We don't get on Twitter and we don't rip on a janitor for anything, and maybe they make nothing. We also don't rip on fast food workers who are making small amounts of money. It's just not what you should do. Does it happen? Yes, absolutely. But I don't think that pay has anything to do with that. To absorb abuse. Twitter stock price closed Monday at 49.97 per share. Musk is the world's richest person, according to the Bloomberg Billionaires Index. He paid close to $2.9 billion for his stake in Twitter, now worth $3.6 billion. Twitter didn't respond to a request for comment about her pay package. The compensation surged primarily due to a $15.5 million stock award and a $450,000 in non-equity incentive plan pay, both of which were substantial increases over the respective $6.6 million and $144,000 she earned a year earlier. Her base salary remained flat at $600,000. Now, understand, there are people in the world. I think myself, I don't think that I make a tenth of that. I mean, it's really gross. And that's, what's the lowest paid worker at Twitter making? I'd like to know. And then I'd like to know what the executives at Twitter are making. And then I'd like to see, like, hey, are they really doing that good of a job to justify that wage? Yeah. Twitter also gave more than $400,000 to Gadde in additional compensation, which the company itemized as $3,000 in 401k matching contributions and $397,329 in personal security services. She's getting paid $400,000. Like, she's got private security. Now, I think that anyone that has to walk around with public security, I mean, that's tough. That's a tough life. Man or woman, don't get me wrong. I don't look at that as a perk that the company's paying for your security services. I look at that as a sad indictment of the world we live in today. Gadde has previously spoken publicly about the legal and public policy challenges that come with her position in social media, such as balancing freedom of speech with tackling Twitter trolls and coarsening of public discourse. She just wasn't very good at it. The company made waves by announcing in November 2021 that its billionaire co-founder Jack Dorsey would step down as CEO and be succeeded by Parag Agrawal, the company's former chief technology officer. Gadde owns Twitter stock valued at more than $29 million, according to Bloomberg data. Securities filings show that within the past year, she has sold off more than $4.3 million in company stock. She's also a board member at Guardian Health Incorporated. And I would just ask how much she gets at that, because board memberships are getting ridiculous in pay. The former Wilson, Sonsey, Goodrich, and Rosati associate joined the company. That's a law firm, I guess, in 2021 and became its top lawyer 2 years later. Over the years, she has emerged as one of Twitter's most important executives, advising on everything from routine legal matters to permanently suspending the account of former President Donald Trump. Mahmoud Ahmadinejad in Iran still has an account, but our former president doesn't. It's just ridiculous. Gadde's sister, I love this. Gadde's sister earned nearly $370,000 in salary and cash compensation last year in her role as director for mobile applications advertising platform MoPub, according to Twitter's proxy. Twitter sold the platform for $1 billion in cash to AppLovin Corp in October of 2021. Kavitha Gadde became a vice president for advertising technology solutions at AppLovin this month, per her LinkedIn profile. What does her sister have to do with any of this? Perkins Coie, which we're not going to go in, have had a role representing Twitter in nearly half of its federal litigation in the past 5 years. According to Bloomberg data, the company last year tapped Wilmer Hale to defend it in a lawsuit by former President Donald Trump. Anyway, I'm not even going to get into it. Then it goes into peer pay. I don't think it really matters, but I really just don't think that. While she's a millionaire, you cannot argue that. I don't think that she is a public figure. I don't believe that she deserves harassment abusive behavior. But I also don't think that it's because of Elon Musk. And to tie that in to Elon Musk is disingenuous, in my opinion. Not that anybody asked. Let's go on. Moving on. Sorry that took a long time. I thought it was kind of interesting. I hope you did too. The Twitter thing is a fascinating issue of our time, and I believe it deserves a realistic conversation and realistic opinion. Culture, this says, warehouse worker claims he was fired for sitting in a chair, which caused a debate. A warehouse worker claimed his manager caught him using a rolling chair while working and fired him, which has ignited a debate on TikTok about the situation. And I love the ability now in media to take a TikTok or a tweet and turn it into a whole story. I just think that's fascinating. We didn't have that 20 years ago. Now this is a 7-second clip. Okay. The viral TikTok caption, FYP, this was a year ago today, getting paid $5 more, at least LMAO, has been viewed 335,900 times since it was posted by user Carlos on March 9th. Okay. 7 seconds, 335,000 views, and a warehouse worker claiming his manager caught him using a rolling chair while working and fired him. I just think that's fantastic. So it says the 7-second clip started with the TikToker holding a phone in his hand as he showed a video playing on it of himself working his previous warehouse job while seated in an office chair with wheels. It says, my manager caught me doing this and fired me for it because I realized working hard for $10.65 in a warehouse ain't it, LMAO. The video, which was accompanied by music, showed the TikToker wrapping up a bunch of packages on a pallet with a clear plastic covering while seated in the chair. He used the chair to wheel around the pallet of packages as he worked, securing them in place. According to salary.com, the average hourly wage for a worker in the U.S. is $16 as of 2022, but the range is anywhere from $14 to $19 an hour. Over 25,000 people had liked the video, which caused a debate about the situation. Some brought up the amount the worker claimed he was making at the time. Bro, gas stations pay more than that in some states. Some seem to be on the side of the TikToker about the situation. I swear they like to see us suffer while we work because what's wrong with it if we still get things done? A few brought up the fact they could get paid more. One TikToker revealed they're on unemployment and get paid more than that. Another viewer wondered why the company couldn't get a machine to do it. They can't because it's expensive. One person thought the warehouse worker was still doing too much, adding that's like $12 per work type. Now, here's the thing. Okay. First of all, do we know that the TikToker story is true? That he was only fired because he was sitting in a chair wrapping packages? No. Okay. Do we know if the person that wrote, bro, gas stations pay more than that in some states, is a real person? And if that is true? No. Does the person that wrote, I swear they like to see us suffer while we work because what's wrong with it if we still get things done? Do we know if that's a person? I mean, they have an account, but is it a 10-year-old? I mean, we don't even know who this person is. And then it says, a few brought up the fact that you get paid more. One TikToker revealed they're on unemployment and get paid more than that. What does that, how is that relevant to the story? That you could get paid more than the warehouse worker, so you could get paid more not to work? Okay. Another viewer wondered why the company couldn't get a machine to do it. They can't because it's expensive. I don't even understand. One person thought the warehouse worker was still doing too much, adding that's like $12 per hour work type. Well, who knows? Like, it even says the range is between $14 and $19 an hour. Another viewer didn't think it was worth firing the TikToker over, however, had another point. But OSHA would not approve of using an office chair in this manner. I'm glad you found a better job, though. Some thought the worker was putting in more effort than was needed, with one viewer saying, I feel like it would be less effort to just walk around the pallet, to be honest. Like, so maybe the guy's doing it wrong. I mean, could there be more to the story? We get 7 seconds to make a decision as to whether or not this makes any sense. But not everyone is on the TikToker side about the situation. One viewer thought more was going on. You're packing things up to ship out at a certain time, and you're going as slow as possible, they added. While another person noted the situation isn't innovative, this is straight up lazy. Okay, so let's talk about me for a moment, right? I had a job in a factory. Yes, I know, hard to believe. When I was in high school, I worked at a plastics factory. A very, very good experience for me. I worked third shift. So I believe I started at 11 and I got done at 4 in the morning. Something like that. I don't know. But it was late. Could have been even later. I could have gone in at 1 and gotten out at like 6 or 7 in the morning. But I was third shift. And working in a plastics factory, one of the things you have to watch out for is the things that come out of the machine are hot. It's hot plastic. And so we would have Kevlar armbands to, over our arms, because if we were to ever get hit and gloves, of course, Kevlar gloves, because if we ever got hit with the hot plastic, it would burn us. And so we were union. We got the first 6 months you weren't union. After that, you had to join the union. There's a story there that I'm not going to tell today, but it was funny. Anyway, I don't know if the employment market was down or what when I graduated or when I was in high school, but I worked at this place the first summer and I was laid off. So I was getting no pay. The second summer I worked there, they did have a job and I did work there. And what was happening while I was there was fascinating. I actually got the job like going in and applying, but they couldn't get anybody to work. So they would hire temporary workers. And every night they would bring in temporary workers, different ones, because I guess the job was so terrible. I didn't think it was that bad, but I mean, it wasn't great. But the workers would sleep on the job. And by sleeping on the job, I mean, they would literally get to work, stand over a production table and go to sleep on the table, like bent over, while hot plastics parts and pieces would come out of the machine and just get melded together because they were still hot and would just ruin the parts. So it didn't make any sense to me. What I'm trying to say is there's a chance that maybe some of the workers at this place were terrible. It's possible. And I mean, if you get paid to do a job, should you do it right? In my opinion, yes. Is this the right way to do the job? It doesn't seem that way. Should you get fired on the spot? No. Maybe a warning, maybe a second warning. But I reject the idea that because of the pay, it's okay to do a shitty job. If you don't like the job, don't take the job. If you don't feel the job, pays what you think it should pay, just leave. Don't stay at a job where you feel you're being exploited, and don't waste everyone's time. That's all. Last one tonight, and then we'll head on. I thought it was interesting. This is from the NPR group. I thought this was interesting. Newly formed Amazon Fresh union faces first firing. Now, the headline to me is a little bit dicey. As we go through I did read it once before. I haven't read it in a while, though, so let's go over it. It says, less than a month after a new union formed at an Amazon Fresh store in Seattle, the first union member there has been fired. So she's not the first union member of the group. Like they don't mean that. They mean the first one to be fired. Okay. Kaylin Richards said she was fired after making a clerical error related to filling out her timesheet. So I'm just paraphrasing what I'm understanding. She was supposed to fill out her timesheet and she filled it out wrong. That's it. Richards lives in the United Indians Youth Home in Ballard. She's 26 years old and had aged out of the program there, which is designed to keep young people out of homelessness. She says the pay stubs from Amazon Fresh were going to be her ticket to an apartment of her own, but now that she's been fired, that's all up in the air. Now, you can have compassion, you can have empathy for someone whose situation isn't great. Certainly, if you're living in a homeless shelter, and now you can't live in the shelter because you're too old, and you've been fired. I mean, this is not a good situation. I don't think you should celebrate this in any way. I mean, it's negative to me. This is that we can have empathy for this person. I mean, I know homeless prevention is key in Seattle, but like I said, they could tell me, hey, we can't help you anymore based on the fact that you don't have employment. Does that mean she could end up being homeless because of the firing? Absolutely, she said. Amazon employees track their attendance using an app. Through tears, Richards said she made a clerical error when entering her hours. For that mistake, the app logged a disciplinary strike against her under a points-based system. It's a robot saying you've clocked in incorrectly. But she said she spoke to a manager at her store about it, who assured her the problem could be ironed out. But later she discovered she'd been locked out of the app. Richard said that after battling to communicate with Amazon's points management department in a situation where it wasn't always clear when she was hearing from a human or receiving an automated response, she reached a supervisor who confirmed that she'd been terminated. So, like, she doesn't even know she's been fired, according to her story. This could all be made up. But let's assume that the story is real, just because we can talk about these situations. You're trying to work at a job. You put in the wrong hours. Now, I suspect that she put in more hours than she actually worked. I'm guessing. People cheat on timesheets all the time. But anyway, let's assume that somehow it was an honest mistake, okay? I'll go with that, okay? And then, like, hey, she goes to her manager and says she spoke to a manager, but I don't know if it's the manager. Okay. And again, in our society, we kind of abdicate responsibility. So it's not surprising to me that the manager was like, hey, I'm sure it'll work out. Don't worry about it. Okay. Like, what good is it to say, oh, no, you're toast. You're fired. Like, that manager isn't even in charge of the employee. Sadly, it's definitely not in charge of the app. So after battling to communicate with the points management department, so there is such a place, in a situation where it wasn't always clear what she was hearing from a human or receiving an automated response. That's bizarre. She reached a supervisor who confirmed that she'd been terminated. So, I mean, I don't even know. And then it says she was told that she said she was told that he couldn't do anything about it, the supervisor. Richard said coworkers who found themselves in similar situation with the attendance tracking app told her their issues had been resolved. Richards says she believes Amazon allowed her firing to go through because of her membership at her store's new union, Amazon Workers United. KUOW reached out to Amazon for comment on Richards' firing, but did not hear back by the time the story was published. Now, this to me adds, I mean, there's some questions here. I'm going to go back to this screen. If she's a union employee, does she not get union representation on the floor? Like, shouldn't the union be going? I mean, I'm not trying to fight the unions here. I'm just asking what I think is a reasonable question. How is it that the union allowed this woman to be in a situation where an app controlled this destiny, and then there was no representation for her to be fired? Like, how did that go through? What is in the labor relations that says you have no ability to appeal? I mean, what is this about? I personally don't understand what happened here. To me, it seems like, I mean, obviously she got the short end of it. If she is totally innocent in this deal, we'll never know. But you've got a union and they're just allowing just people to get fired. without some sort of appeals process? What kind of a union is this? I mean, am I wrong? You should put it in the chat. I don't think I am. I just think it's kind of, I just don't get it. I'm kind of blown away by that. So anyway, well, what did we learn tonight? I'm going to head on out. What did we learn? We learned that, you can work for a major company and you really probably don't deserve vitriol and hatred under any circumstance, even if you're a terrible person. Even if you're a terrible person. The amount of money you make does not determine what type of vitriol and hatred you're allowed to receive. That's my opinion. We learned that if you work at an Amazon Fresh store and screw up on your timesheet on the app, like, you're probably going to get fired. Doesn't matter if you're a union or not. And then what was the other article about? See, I lose my train of thought. Oh, if you're a warehouse worker and you put out a TikTok, it might go viral, 335,000 views. But maybe you should just, part of me says that one is like, hey, look at me, I'm being dumb. Like, I don't know if that's such a great plan. So, yeah, we learned some stuff tonight. I had a good time. If you watch this down the road, maybe a year from now, maybe circumstances have all changed. Who knows what's going to happen in the future? But one thing that I would appreciate, I've had, I believe, 9 or 10 subscribers at this point. I don't know that I have double digits. I only started this live stream about a month ago. I don't think it's had enough time to properly season in YouTube, but could you hit the subscribe button? I want you to know I'm 44 years old. I'm a boomer, and I like the idea of subscribers. I like the idea of followers. Obviously, I'd like you to watch my content and not really care about the subscribers, but no, I'll tell you, if I tell someone I have 6 subscribers, they don't really seem to care. But if I tell someone I have 1 million subscribers, well, that means something. That means something. My goal someday is to get enough viewers that it would be larger than the hockey stadium here or hockey rink here in St. Louis. So I think they top out at 18,000 people for a view. If I could get 20,000 viewers one night, or if I could get 20,000 views on a video, that would be more than my local hockey team. That would mean something to me. So please help me get to that goal. I'm going to start off with, I'd like to have 100 subscribers by maybe the end of the year. That's kind of where I'm at. So please, down the road, hit the subscribe button. You don't ever have to watch my videos again, I guess, but it would be nice. I think we provide something of value. And let's just say your subscription would be a vote in that direction. With that, I'm going to head on out. I just want to say thank you again for watching. And if you ever have any employment issues you want to discuss, you can put in the chat. You can email me, and we'll go through it. Maybe we'll talk about it online. Who knows? Anyway, I'm out. Thanks for watching.